In my previous video in this series, I asserted Bitcoin is private money that no government can touch, and that I'd explore with you the effect this is having and will have on the economy and politics. This is something I am hugely interested in as a political philosophy postgraduate. What happens in a brave new world where money has been issued by lines of code and software cryptography and exists on the internet? Cyber money does not have the Federal Reserve or the Bank of England or any other authority on it. Networks of decentralized computers take care of the infrastructure behind cryptocurrency, and it is not governed by any monetary policy committee. What is needed is an electronic payment system based on cryptographic proof instead of trust, allowing any two willing parties to transact directly with each other without the need for a trusted third party. That's a quote from the original Bitcoin white paper in 2008. Here are some of the contrasting features of cryptocurrency compared with the fiat money we use in our respective countries. Peer-to-peer versus trusted third party in the middle. Banks. Decentralized versus central bank controlled, Fed, Bank of England. Voluntary taxation versus forced taxation, pay or go to jail. Limited supply versus government inflation, keep printing. Sovereign ownership and private/anonymous versus state-controlled money. James Dale Davidson and William Rees-Mogg, writing in their 1997 book, The Sovereign Individual, wrote this profoundly insightful and, with hindsight, prophetic commentary. Now, with the advent of the information age, implies another revolution in the character of money. It will lead inevitably to cyber money. This new digital form of money is destined to play a pivotal role in cyber commerce. It will consist of encrypted sequences of multi-hundred-digit prime numbers. Unique, anonymous, and verifiable, this money will accommodate the largest transactions. It will also be divisible into the tiniest fraction of value. It will be tradable at a keystroke in a multi-trillion-dollar wholesale market without borders. Now that, to me, is the definition of being a futurologist. It wasn't for another 12 years after writing this that the first cyber money was mined in January 2009. Bitcoin bore all the characteristics of the vision of being unique, anonymous, and verifiable, and also transacted without borders. That is a very accurate prediction of what we now have at our fingertips, which is pretty astounding when you think about it. Many believe that the name behind Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto, would have read The Sovereign Individual to have understood the implications of what he was creating and encoding. The biggest part of this transition is the disintermediation of the financial industry, which is why they utterly detest cyber money and never miss an opportunity to trash talk it as a highway from money laundering where privacy is conflated with nefarious activity. I personally think that Bitcoin is worthless, said Jamie Dimon, JP Morgan CEO, in 2021. In 2018, legendary investor Warren Buffett said Bitcoin was probably rat poison squared, and he has held that view as steadfastly as his stock portfolio. People talk about crime and money laundering being an attractive feature of having privacy with Bitcoin. Certainly, nobody wants to see any currency being used to finance bad guys. Transactions involving illicit addresses represented just 0.15% of cryptocurrency transaction volume in 2021, despite the raw value of illicit transaction volume reaching its highest level ever, in a study by Chain Analysis, a firm that investigates cybersecurity breaches and stolen funds. In the same study, they added that in spite of a rise in illicit activity, it was massively outpaced by legitimate dealings. Total transaction volume grew to $15.8 trillion in 2021, up 567% from 2020's totals. Governments and banks want to discourage you from using Bitcoin, which cannot be under their jurisdiction, and middlemen operations respectively. The big government counterattack is to set up their own central bank digital currency, which they can control. I'm not going to delve into it here, but watch out for it in an upcoming video. But you can probably guess I won't be praising it. Then there are those who wring their hands that crypto creates a wild west of libertarian chaos where people can avoid paying taxes. This is where two doctrines collide, the welfare state and the minimal state. You only have to look at this from a mathematical perspective. The US national debt was at $28.4 trillion when fiscal year 22 began. How can that be sustained when it increased 71.9% between 2010 and 2020? Yes, in that period over 9 trillion was added. Likewise, with the US dollar losing its place as the world's reserve currency, it can only continue printing money for so much longer. This continuous inflating of the money supply that is now showing us staggering price rises also shows that even with the best will in the world, a welfare state is in great jeopardy from the perspective of basic budgeting and economics. Expect much upheaval in the coming years as the status quo gets upended, as we are seeing today already. Wars also upend dominances of currencies and serve as a doula to the birth of new money systems, says Zoltan Pozsar, an analyst at Credit Suisse, who is referring to the decline in the dominance of the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. So in conclusion, Bitcoin enables savings and capital formation because the entry level is tiny. You can buy fractions of a Bitcoin and watch over time as its purchasing power increases. Contrast that with your pounds and dollars, where purchasing power is only ever going to go down, and the interest rates in the next number of years will be less than the inflation-based erosion of your savings.